Recording in progress.
Okay, are we ready to go? All right, thank you very much. Well, sorry about that, a little bit of technical difficulty there. So, okay, it is now 5:10. I call this meeting to order. For the record, my name is Huang Tran, Chair of this committee. On my right is Councilmember Paul McDaniel, a member of the committee, Councilmember Susan Honda, Councilmember Jack Walsh. On my left is Councilmember Jack Dovey, also a member of committee. We have Council President Linda Kochmar, and we also have Councilmember. Okay, let me try. I'm gonna get this right before I leave this council. Okay, Councilmember Asifa Dawson. Thank you. Okay, I got it. All right. Lydia, yes. Okay. We have one public comments, one sign up. We have any more or just one?
Just the one.
Okay, thank you. Nathan Oath? Go ahead. You have 3 minutes, please.
Thank you very much. Hello, my name is Nathan North, and I'm here tonight to argue in favor of legalizing the sale of cannabis in Federal Way. So first, I want to talk about it as a revenue stream. After doing some research, it looks like every cannabis shop in Washington earns an average of about $1 million in tax revenue. Unfortunately, right now, the state keeps about 95% of that, but there is some legislation at the state level to start scaling that up over time that hopefully will be passed soon. What that would equal for Federal Way at the moment, if those numbers hold true, would be about $200,000 a year. Additional benefits could be each cannabis shop employs an average of 10 people in Washington state. So with, I believe, 4 potential licenses, that's up to 40 employees or new jobs created in Federal Way. Reducing enforcement costs. So about a month ago in the Mirror, I saw a story about an illegal grow operation that was busted here in Federal Way and in some other local cities. It was kind of like a big operation spread across 3 or 4 cities. It looked like the Federal Way police had been dragged into that. I'm not sure how much involvement they were in the locating that, but they at least got dragged in at the last minute for busting the locations that were here in Federal Way. So we are spending resources at the moment on cannabis and not making any revenue from it. There is a potential for reducing the black market by legalizing. So right now, people who want to use in Federal Way are either hopefully going to a legal shop in one of our neighboring cities, but some of them don't do that. Some of them, buy it the old-fashioned way, I guess, right? So if it was legalized, that would create some pressure, downward pressure on the black market, and hopefully that would have an effect on crime as well. When I have been talking to folks about this, there have been security concerns raised, and that is, it's a real concern. One issue that cannabis shops have had is that when no chase laws were on the books, they were, a big target, a lot of cash in one place. But here in Federal Way, that no chase law is, off the books at this point, so it's not as much of a security concern. The state has also passed a bill to increase penalties for cannabis retail smash and grabs in 2024, so that's been a little bit addressed. And then also the State Liquor and Cannabis Board has partnered with a security firm to offer voluntary security assessments for retailers to help kind of curb those issues. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, now we are moving on to committee business. The first item is item A, approval of the minutes for September 23rd, 2025.
I move adoption.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 3-0. Thank you. Now we are moving on to item B, approve 2026 annual work plan, Senior Advisory Commission. Amy Glendon, sorry. I get it.
You got there. Good evening, committee members, council president, and council members. My name is Amy Glandon. I'm coming to you tonight on behalf of the Senior Advisory Commission to bring our 2026 annual work plan. Relatively unchanged from 2025 with the inclusion of 2 additional items to this work plan. We are bringing it before you in order to continue the work that the commission has been doing. The 2 new items this year is to add funding into the voucher program for the farmers market and increased communication to seniors, which is building a network for the seniors that are not connected via email or in-person activities. I'm happy to answer any questions about this work plan or about the commission if you have any.
Any question for Amy? Yes.
Yeah, I have just one question. I think everything looks fine. But the voucher program, where we have $1,400, since we're putting the money in and we own the farmer's market and we're going out, couldn't there be another way just to put $1,400 into the farmer's market's budget so the same thing happens? And, we're taking money out of one pocket, putting it in the other. Just a philosophy question, I guess.
I'm
You're
sure that there's a way to do
You're probably not
that.
going to answer it. I guess I'm just raising it, and something we might want to think about in the budgets.
I have a question, so, for the printing of the brochures, it's gonna cost us about $4,000. Is there a way we can reduce this expenditure and use that extra money, and then put it back into the vouchers?
So all of the money anticipated amounts on here they're a little high just to cover any inflation. This year's book printing was only $2,700, and it actually didn't cost the city anything because it was sponsored by Steel Lake Presbyterian Church. The financial portion of this work plan is just in the event that the financing or the fundraising does not come in, that there is a backing from the city to cover those programs. But this commission has fully funded the outreach program of the brochure printing and the Senior Health and Resource Fair without having to touch city funds.
Got it, thank you. Mr. Dovey?
Yeah, where will the funds go if you're as fortunate as before? Will it roll into the voucher program, or is it just coming back to the city, or is there a plan for that?
There is no plan for that. This is more of an allotment or an allocation out of council's budget, so it just exists in the general fund.
Member Honda?
Thank you. So the brochure, I would not cut that out of the budget at all in case Steel Lake Presbyterian Church is not able to fund it. We get requests for that brochure weekly, and it's in stores, it's at the hospital, it's at the libraries, it's at businesses. I carry some in my trunk because I know that I will always find someone who wants one. And we run out of them, and then we print them again. So I would not cut that budget at all, just in case, because it's very necessary. And senior citizens aren't necessarily the ones who are going to go to their iPhone and look up information. They need to see it in print. Also, for the vouchers, Saturday was our last day. We had, the weather was absolutely horrendous on Saturday, and the market actually closed early because of that. But we had 42 seniors lined up at 9 o'clock to get their vouchers with their rain gear on and their umbrellas, and they were freezing. That's how important it is. So I don't care where the funding's coming from, I just don't want the program cut in any way. Thank you.
Mr. Dovey?
Just one more comment. I agree with Councilmember Honda on the vouchers and all that. It just seems that we should have something in this that says, if we don't spend 4,000 on whatever, the media, it goes into vouchers or something, so it doesn't have to come back to the council and vote on it. They can just do it as a commission. But anyway, I'm not going to make any changes, but that's just my suggestion to think about.
Council President?
At the end of the year, maybe, Steve, what does, with most commissions, at the end of the year, if the money isn't spent, how does it usually, is it handled? It doesn't go back into the general fund.
The operational budget of every department, if it's not used, goes to, back to fund balance, and then in order to be carried forward, it has to come to council.
Yeah,
Now,
to
for
carry
small
forward.
amounts, and if you've got restricted donations and there's an obligation that goes with it, I think we just make it work.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to speak light of it, because we have to be accountable to auditors. But if you've got restricted donations, then we need to honor those from year to year as well.
Yeah, I don't remember ever it coming back to council.
Yeah.
I believe it was always handled
Yeah.
within the commission, not going back to the general fund. We do
and-
have a carry forward balance,
Well, and
but,
generally, we can make it work within the next year's budget. If it's a small amount, it's not going to materially affect
Yeah,
next year's
right.
budget. Does that make sense?
right, and I agree. I absolutely, the brochures have been very valuable. I carry them myself. And I just handle some out. In fact, I just picked up the parks brochure. So anyway, those are very valuable to people who, a lot of people never get on the internet. And that, you know, in relation to all of our commissions, the senior commission, that's very small of money. For the work that they do, it's a very small amount of money. And that $1,400 that we spend on the vouchers, that's extremely valuable. You're getting the money right into the hands of the people who need it. So, and not only that, you're helping the farmers, so.
I think if you give Amy your direction and your general, what you want to accomplish, we can work with her during the year as things work out in reality.
Bob?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand, but I think I understood correctly. So I've worked with diversity and their commission budget, and they pretty much allocate what they want, and they have a budget they go with, but then if something's short, they can move it over. So my understanding is, so you're saying if the brochures come in, let's say at $3,000, and we hit that August timeframe, you want to make sure the money is able to go into the actual vouchers for the seniors? So if there is any overflow without coming back to us, it goes straight into it?
That's what I'd like to see happen.
Okay, and that's kind of what you were talking about, right? If you had to have additional prints by the end of October, September, you'd know if you guys needed more prints or not, wouldn't you?
So we print
So
in,
latest.
we redo the brochure in the spring, print in early summer. Well, we have it, the new one printed by the health fair in May. But we've gone out for a second printing before, correct?
We have not done a second printing since I've been here. I don't know if there was a second printing done previously. We print 2,100 brochures in time for the Health and Resource Fair in May. We also have an online version with clickable PDF links, which will take you directly to the websites of the resources that are in the book. But from my understanding, when we built this work plan last year with working with finance, is these were anticipated amounts, but the Senior Advisory Commission had an allocation of $14,600 with which to play with their projects. So in answer to your question, Councilmember Dovey, I believe, I might be speaking out of turn, but I believe we could if we come in short.
I believe the first year we reprinted because we didn't know what the
Expectation.
expectation of the public would be.
No, I agree with the other council members. If there's additional revenues in that August, September timeframe, then I'd say just dump it all into the vouchers. $1,400 is, as I've been told, it's budget dust, so it's not really a big number, so it should be easily updated or upgraded. Thank you for your time, though.
So then, could I ask, then the vouchers would be, we would have more vouchers to give out? Is that,
That's what I would recommend.
okay?
Yeah.
We could always use more. We always turn people away.
And maybe you'll find that if you've been printing 2,100 and there's some left over from the year before, you don't have to print 2,100, maybe only 1,800, and you got more money for people when they line up at the farmer's market, and you give them $7 instead of 5, or 20 instead of whatever the number is. Or you go give out more.
We give out 10 right now.
What's that?
10.
Okay, very good.
I'll make a motion.
I would move that we approve the budget, and that any additional dollars that aren't used for printing could go to the voucher program. Can I change the motion?
Well, we're just here to approve the work plan. so
Okay, I'll
there's no-
approve the work. I'll move to approve the work plan.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
This matter passed 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, now we are moving on to item C. approve
Excuse me,
contract.
are we supposed to,
Sorry.
in the motion, say that it's going to move forward to the November 5th?
We
council?
can't budget money right now. This is,
So
the
we're-
item on for today is to approve the work
I
plan.
think- I
And then if
think-
we want to change the budgeting mechanism, we can address that during budget cycle or
But we-
during a budget
We
amendment.
move forward to put this on the consent agenda for the November 5th meeting.
Yeah, I
Yes.
didn't add that to the,
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss the whole
You want
point
me
of
to
that
Can you
comment?
restate it, or?
Sorry.
probably should.
Okay, take two.
Take two. I'm going to move that we move the work plan forward to the consent agenda.
There you go. That's usually my line. I'm sorry.
What day is it, November?
November 5th.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Okay. Do we need a second again, then?
Yeah.
Okay, second.
Okay, so we have a new motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 3-0. Thank you. All right. Okay, we are moving on to item C, approve contract amendment, SCORE Jail Services. Commander.
Good evening. Excuse me. My name is Kyle Buchanan. I am a commander in the police department. I am here to present the 2026 SCORE Jail Services Agreement Rate Amendment. The policy question in front of you is, should the City of Federal Way accept the proposed 2026 rate increase amendment for SCORE Jail Services? So this is an amendment to the agreement that we signed with SCORE that went into effect in January 1st of this year, 2025. It includes a rate increase for all the bed types of about 5%. It increases the booking fee from $80 to $95. And it also adds a video court fee of $75 per appearance. We expect, based on 2025 numbers, that video court fee is going to be an added about $250,000 for 2026 versus 2025. We've been trying to mitigate those fees a little bit by booking people into Nisqually Jail instead of SCORE Jail. So we have 25 guaranteed beds at SCORE. If we go above that 25, it's a non-guaranteed rate, which is more expensive. In order to mitigate that, like I said, we can book people in Nisqually. The numbers on Nisqually are a lot cheaper, and we plan to continue doing that in 2026 in order to mitigate some of those costs. So the policy, I'm sorry, I always said the policy question, but the options considered are to approve the proposed SCORE Jail Services Agreement, rate amendment, or number two, do not approve proposed agreement and provide direction to staff. The mayor's recommendation is option one, to approve the proposed SCORE Jail Services Agreement amendment.
Thank
Any
you, Commander.
questions?
Any question for Commander? Paul?
Yeah, my first question is just out of curiosity. So if we were to say no to this, does that just mean it kills the whole contract with SCORE then?
Correct.
Okay. And then we just have to rely on all the other cities of jails that we currently use?
We would, yeah. And the reason we use SCORE is because they're in close proximity to us. They also offer medical and mental health treatment. As I said, we're using Nisqually, but Nisqually is about an hour each way with no traffic. And so most of our graveyard bookings have been going down to Nisqually recently. We've also been shuttling people from SCORE to Nisqually, but it's a very long trip, especially when there's traffic.
Do you get a double booking? If you book them at SCORE, they stay there for a day, but if you know they're going to be a long hold of like 30 days, you move them to Nisqually. Do you have to pay booking at each location then?
We would. Nisqually does not charge a booking fee, though. They just charge a daily bed fee. It's about $135 a day, which is significantly cheaper than SCORE. So the costs aren't as high as like booking them twice into SCORE with the booking fee and some other things like that, some of the other fees.
Gotcha. Two last questions. If we arrest somebody, do we store them downstairs and then put them together to take them out? Or is it when the arrest is made, they take them straight to SCORE or whatever jail they're planning on going for the night?
It depends. It depends on the circumstances. It depends on if they're male and female. It depends on if there's juveniles involved, because we can't transport male and female together. We can't transport juveniles with adults. So we try, if we do have more than one person in custody, we try to consolidate them the best that we can in order to make the least number of trips back and forth.
Gotcha. And the last question is, this kind of ties into the next one, because we are going to be talking about Puyallup City Jail next. In the financial impact for the Puyallup one, it mentions that the funds from the general fund, but the one for SCORE does not mention that. It says it comes out of the budget for you guys' what does it say exactly? It's taken from the Federated Police Department. Is there a reason why one has police department and the other one has general fund?
I can jump in and help Kyle out here. I don't think there is a reason, because I think we have a fund for jail, and, you know, the general fund may help out that fund, but it's up to the police department's discretion which one they use. One can be over, one can be under, and they manage their business.
So they can pull from the jail, they can pull from the police?
I believe the funding's all the same.
Yeah, it all comes out of the jail budget. Each jail has their own budget line, if I understand correctly. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, because
Okay.
like I said, one said general fund, the other one did not, and I wasn't sure if we're using general funds for one location and the other one's not, or if it just like was a mistype, or, you know, something was looked over. That was it. Thank you.
Susan?
Oh, thank you. It says bed types. What do you mean by that?
It's just how the inmate is housed. So a guaranteed bed is something that we pay no matter if we have somebody booked in there or not. So at SCORE, we have 25 guaranteed beds. So whether we have 25 people in SCORE or more, or we have 20 people in SCORE, we still pay for the 25 beds. The non-guaranteed rate is when we go above 25. So if we have 30 people in SCORE, we would pay 25, we would pay for the 25 guaranteed beds, and then we pay for the 5 non-guaranteed. And then there's also beds that are for medical conditions and also mental health conditions. And so bed just refers to housing an inmate for one day.
So that's what I was wondering. So if someone is there for mental health or for a medical issue, is their bed rate higher?
It is, yes.
And is that the best place for them to be, of the jails that we contract with? Do they get the best care there? Okay.
I don't know if that's
We
a
can
fair
move on.
question for me to answer.
All right.
I'm not in the jails with them and watching how
Okay.
they're, but I haven't heard any complaints come back from anybody.
All right. So does every jail that we go to, that we contract with, have medical beds and mental health beds?
No, they don't.
Okay.
They will reject people that we bring in if they have certain medical or mental conditions. Then we have to go to a different jail with that person.
Okay. And then my other question is, when someone is going to be taken to a jail, who makes a decision at the police department what jail that they're going to?
So we have a kind of a priority list that we've sent out in emails and bulletins and stuff like that, where, this is our top priority for misdemeanor suspects. And if that jail is full, so currently our top priority is Kent Jail. Kent Jail, we only have 5 beds there though. And so they fill up pretty quickly. So if Kent is full, we move on to the next jail, or we move on to the next jail. And sometimes that requires some phone calls when there are some medical issues or some mental problems, where we may call a certain jail and say, hey, is this someone that you'll take? They may say yes or no, and then we'll move on to the next one. So to answer your question, it is prioritized based on who the jails will take and costs and distance from Federal Way and things like that.
Does the officer make those calls or their supervisor?
Usually it's the officer.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Dovey?
Yeah, I just have kind of a off-the-wall question, but I don't know, was it 6 years ago or something, maybe longer, we were a full member of SCORE and went through budgets and found out you could do it more effectively, less costly by, going to this jail and that jail and moving it around. It's been a period of time since, and I wasn't around when that decision was made, but Is there a time now that we need to look at that again, and if we consolidate into one place, we might get a more efficient setup and maybe save money? Because I know everything's been going up over time.
We have had some talks with Score Jail about that very subject. We are waiting for some numbers to come back from Score Jail to see if that will benefit us. Once we get those numbers, we'll make a decision, but
Okay. So
we're waiting.
So you are looking that on a continuous basis to see if the economies of scale have changed or something different now?
Yes, it is something we are constantly evaluating.
Okay, thank you.
Right. I see no other questions.
Give me a second, I scrolled to the bottom of the state. Mistakes there. Give me a second. Where we at right now? And this is gonna be score.
I have it right here if you want.
Okay.
You do this one.
I'll do it. I move to forward the proposed Score Jail Service Agreement Rate Amendment to the November 5th, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passes 3-0. Thank you. And you have the next one too, right?
I do.
Go right ahead.
All right, so I'm here to present the Puyallup City Jail Interagency Agreement. The questions in front of you, the policy question in front of you is, should the City of Federal Way enter into a new interagency agreement with the City of Puyallup for housing inmates in the Puyallup City Jail? The background on this is we've had a agreement with Puyallup for a number of years. The most recent one went into effect in 2022. We haven't seen much of a rate increase over the last 3 years since that agreement was put in place. In September, they notified us that they were terminating that agreement and they were raising rates more than they have in the past. And so the rate will go from $169 per day per bed. It increases to $185 per day per bed. Puyallup does not charge, we don't have any guaranteed beds with Puyallup. So it's only if we book somebody in there that we get charged. If we don't have anybody in the Puyallup jail, we don't get charged at all from Puyallup. And so it'd only be what we book into there is what we'd get charged for. There's also a few increases with like transportation fees, and that would be going to hospitals for medical treatment and stuff like that. Because we don't put that many people into Puyallup jail, our ADP is less than one, our average daily population in Puyallup for the year is less than one person in Puyallup. We don't anticipate any sort of huge increase because of those transportation fees. The estimated cost for us for next year in Puyallup is about $75,000 based on numbers this year. This year, we're looking at probably about $60,000 based on what we have booked into Puyallup jail. So the options considered are approve the proposed interagency agreement, or do not approve the proposed interagency agreement and provide direction to staff. The mayor's recommendation is option 1, approve the proposed interagency agreement. Any questions?
All right. Thank you. Paul?
Yeah, the only question I have on this one is, so in the write-up where it has the 55 for transportation to the 76, that's not our transportation, that's if they have to take them to a hospital or any kind of services outside of their jail?
That's correct.
Okay, so they do not have any kind of medical or mental health in that facility, right?
I don't believe so.
Limited medical, they have somebody comes in for mental also, but it's not like every day or.
SCORE has them on, like, employed at that location compared to these guys that's having maybe a swing-by or drop-by doctor? Okay, just want to make sure I understood that. Thank you.
May I have the motion, please?
Gotcha. I move to forward the proposed interagency agreement for the housing of inmates at the Puyallup City Jail to the November 18th, 2025 consent agenda for approval. Is that 18th or 5th? 5th. I'll change that to November 5th, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
Second?
We have the motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passes 3-0. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you. Have
Commander.
a good night.
All right, now we are moving on to item E, approve interlocal contract, cellular lines migration, Verizon to AT&T FirstNet. Thomas, welcome.
Good evening, Chair, Committee, Council members. I'm queue up my screen here. I wish Zoom, there we go. Okay. All right. So I'm actually kind of pleased to bring this before committee and council. We've been working on this for actually quite a while. My operations manager, Brian Pearson, was the initial person that started this conversation probably last year is where it is. We've even talked with committee member Dovey about this. And so this has been kind of a long-standing project, but we wanted to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So a lot of analysis went into this, and that's what I'm going to share with you tonight. So that way you have a better picture of why we're doing what we're doing, just to be as transparent as possible. So before you is we're proposing to migrate all, if the majority, if not all, cellular lines from Verizon to AT&T FirstNet. So the background, Councilmember Honda, you had a question about the vouchers, and so this will help provide a little bit of information about what we do and why we do it. City spends about $15,000 a month, almost $16,000, for 395 lines. 293 of those are on Verizon. We pay about $11,500 a month, and 112 of those are with AT&T FirstNet, about $4,300 a month. These data lines are for cell phones, hotspots, iPads, like the council members have, and there's a GPS device that that Public Works uses for location. But not included in that account, or in that count, are the 160 mobile routers that are in the back of each patrol car. And those are for the police fleet, which runs us about $5,500, so almost $5,600 a month. Okay. We originally migrated to Verizon as a primary provider for both the police cars and the voice lines in 2012, and that was off what Nextel had become with Sprint, and then the merger there, or the acquisition, and then it just really we weren't having the best of luck with that service with Sprint. So we did some analysis with AT&T at the time and T-Mobile, and chose Verizon as the best provider for the city's needs at that time. And so over the years, I mean, just with all of you carry your own devices and have different experiences with them in different areas. And Federal Way is unique, just like Auburn is unique, and Renton and any other community. Cellular coverage is good, but some providers rise a little bit better than others. And so not all of Federal Way has been, had good signal with Verizon from time to time. We've run into a capacity issue with Verizon also during peak hours. They've done a lot of investment into our community, as with other providers, building more towers, adding more capacity. And then reliability, we also had some issues with the officers experiencing some network drops. And so the capacity and the reliability issues are what really impacted our police patrol cars the most. And so because of that, in 2018, 2019, we wanted to try something else, because what Verizon was what we're experiencing in the patrol cars wasn't working for us. And so in 2018, 2019, we did a trial run and cut over a couple of cars to AT&T FirstNet. And basically the coverage was consistent throughout the city, which is very important for the patrol car as it drives around. And the support call volume for those couple pilot devices that we did was non-existent. So we didn't hear from the officers anymore. It was just working. And so at that point, we just cut the entire police fleet over to AT&T FirstNet, and largely it's just been working ever since. One thing that's not on here and not in the staff report that I think is important to show or to tell council is AT&T FirstNet approached us with a new product, a new way that they do billing, and it's called Control Center. And with that, they're able to structure the different rate plans for us on a monthly basis. And so what that means is if a device uses less than, I think, the device uses less than 250 megs of data, so it's either inactive or whatever. The system will automatically put that device on the cheaper plan for that month. If it uses 2 gigs, it'll put that plan, or up to 2 gigs, it'll put that device on that plan. And then if it uses over 2 gigs, it'll put it on an unlimited plan. So we pay the most for those lines. But they approached us and they said, hey, we want to cut you guys over because we can save you guys some money. So they've been proactive about that. And so they took another run at us and they said, hey, how about getting the rest of your Verizon account? And they said, we got an idea, we got a deal for you. We think we can be pretty competitive, and we can offer some benefits for the city. And so one of them is, competitive pricing, which you'll see. They're going to upgrade all of our phones to the current models of everything and iPads. And then we also get free cases and chargers for each of the phones that we get, which also is not included usually, thanks to Apple's reduction in that, providing those. So before we kind of get into the details, like what is FirstNet? In 2012, Congress established the first responder network, and they wanted to build it out. And they went out for RFP, and eventually AT&T was selected to build and maintain this network nationwide. And they deployed a specific band that's just for this first responder network. So band 14 is what it's called. It's dedicated just for government agencies to operate on. And so first responders that operate on this have prioritized access. You don't have to dial a number. You don't have to do anything and put in a little for your GITS card. It automatically has priority through the system. And that's really important, especially as with what we do as first responders. So taking a look at the numbers, what we pay right now with Verizon monthly rates, and again, this is a snapshot. Okay, so we are ebbing and flowing on a monthly basis. Some days we disconnect things, other days we activate things. It really becomes as staff changes, as the needs arise, like things change. Not a lot, but I just want to preface these numbers with this is a snapshot in time, the most accurate that we possibly get to do this analysis. So with Verizon, we've got, as you can see, hotspot plans and non-hotspot plans. We have tablets and MiFi devices. So MiFi are those little hotspot pucks that provide Wi-Fi. And totally we're paying about $11,500 a month. If we were to migrate those lines over to FirstNet, as you can see, that would drop to $8,500 a month. It would save about $2,900. We also currently have lines that are on FirstNet, and as you can see, it's a wide variety of different plans based on kind of what was going on when we transitioned to that device or activated that device with AT&T. So ultimately, you can see we're paying about $4,300 right now with FirstNet on those lines. After we transition, we're going to simplify those, put them all on the same lines, on the same plans, and that would come down to about $3,200. So we'd be saving about $1,100 a month. We are buying devices, but as you can see, they're good prices for us. So the iPhone 15s we'll be getting for 99 cents a piece. And then we have a couple that we use. Again, that's our base phone is the 15, but there are a couple of people that do use or require, based on their job, a higher, better quality phone. And then we have hotspots for motorcycles and iPad Airs. So council will be getting all brand new, fresh iPad Airs for this at reduced cost. So it's going to cost us $4,000 to replace the entire fleet of phones and devices. So taking that, we do have some phones that are on contract with Verizon right now, so we do have to pay an early termination fee. So there's $19,000 there. We're paying $4,000 a month, or $4,000 for the additional devices. And then as part of it, we're trading in all of our devices, and we'll be getting a credit from them of $22,000. So ultimately, it'll only cost us one time $482. And then ongoing, if you look at the total combined what we're paying right now, $15,873 on Verizon and AT&T. In the future, if we move forward with this, we'll be paying about $11,700. And then they're giving us, for the next 36 months or 3 years, a $200 per line credit. And that's just divided out based on each month. And that'll total of about $1,500 per month. So for the first 3 years, first month 1 through 36, we'll be paying about a little over $10,000 a month. And the savings per month would be about $5,700, all said. And that would equate to annually about $68,000, a little over $68,000 for the first 3 years. And then the monthly savings after that initial credit runs out would be about $4,000 savings per month, and about almost $50,000 per year. So now that's a lot of information. Again, this is all pre-taxes and fees because all that stuff is variable. So there is still taxes and fees tacked on to all this, just like any other bill that you get. It was very difficult to include that stuff as part of this analysis. Just know that that is all still added on extra. This is the flat rate of the plan. So next steps. We will be utilizing the AT&T FirstNet. It's 3-year contract, so every line that we activate with them would be for a 3-year contract. The pricing is based on the NASPO contract that we have, that the state of Washington is able to procure, and we are able to procure from. The migration will provide obviously financial responsibility or fiscal responsibility with the significant long-term savings for the city, consistent reliability and coverage, which is what we're looking for. It will provide city staff with an equipment refresh, and staff will also be guaranteed a secure, stable, prioritized communications during critical emergencies. And the good news is we're saving some money because a lot of our other expenses are going up. So we're looking for opportunities like this that make sense for the city, that provide a good service. We've been a customer with them, with AT&T FirstNet. We know what we're getting. There's no surprises, and we're able to save some money for the city to kind of offset some of the other increased expenses that we're seeing. But one thing I do want to caveat with this is not all Verizon lines may be migrated, and the reason for that is we might have some on-call staff that might have AT&T FirstNet might not work where they live. We had an issue or incident with the police chief. You know, he's having issues with Verizon for years. Every time the mayor calls, he has to go in a certain part of his house to be able to communicate to him. He's like, hey, can you guys help me out? Went over there with a FirstNet phone. He can talk all over the place. So, but it might be the same experience, just inverse with FirstNet. AT&T is trying to work with us. They want all the lines, and they'd be willing to provide at no charge in-home, Wi-Fi or cellular boosters that would connect into their internet if the staff member chose to do that. So they're willing to work with us, and they've been willing to work with us in the history of our relationship with them. So all that being said, it's a staff's recommendation to proceed with the proposed migration from Verizon to FirstNet. And I'll open that up for any questions that you may have.
Right, thank you, Thomas. Paul and then Susan?
First question is, did Verizon have a chance to counter?
They did.
What did they come in? You were close?
So roughly our plans are about $28, $30 a piece, and they came in about $35.
So still a little bit higher than?
But again,
Service is another. The second question was be service related.
There's a couple different perspectives of this. Yes, they were still higher. To answer the question flat out, yes, they were higher. I was not interested in the back and forth. It's a little bit more challenging to deal with that, especially as a government official. If you're private sector, you can do that all day long. With us, we have a little bit more. It becomes a little bit more complex there. So, but they did entertain an offer because they knew what we're doing. We were asking for these reports and the early termination fees and all that kind of stuff. They knew what we're doing. But again, I want to emphasize AT&T has been approaching us about trying to save money, about trying new things. They have not. We've always had to go after Verizon to help us with service, to help us with coverage, to reliability, all that kind of stuff.
Better relationship building?
It is a much better relationship thus far. And our account manager that started this whole project or proposal with us is no longer with AT&T, which was a red flag. But the person that came right in after has been phenomenal to work with. So AT&T has so far has had a track record since we've worked with them in 2018, 2019
Gotcha.
of helping us.
Gotcha. No, I understand that sometimes it's worth the money,
Yeah.
even if it was more expensive for the relationship. So the second question I'm going to have is the cost of those phones are not heard of anywhere outside of probably a purchase like this. Is that taking in lieu that we're transferring in a bunch of phones to them, or 99 cents for an iPhone, no matter how old, and it's not that old, is unheard of? So is this just sweetening the deal in order
Well,
to make
keep
it?
in mind, this is a 3-year agreement. So just like if you were personally to sign up for a long-term agreement, you'll get a promo price on that.
Used to.
Well, you still do. They a lot of times they factor it into it's a bill credit every month that you're paying. And they're doing that in addition to this. But if one of these, so full disclosure, if one of these iPhone 15s breaks, and we need to replace it, we're paying full rate for it. I mean, they'll work with us, and they said that they would to give us a little bit better price on the phone, but we're not getting it for another 99 cents.
Gotcha.
So it is the 3-year commitment that we're
Gotcha.
making.
Is there any warranties? What's the warranty on these phones then? since you
Apple
just made-
warranties them for a year.
A year? Okay.
Yeah.
And then the last question I have is, think about this one real quick. Related to this, how much time is it going to take for IT to transfer over that many phones?
That was another issue, and I should have actually added that to the presentation. AT&T is willing; they're going to bring in not only AT&T staff but also third-party staff to help us facilitate. We're going to set up this room, and we're going to block some time off, and we're just going to kind of assembly line it.
So pretty much just take care of it real quick. not
Yep.
drag
So
it
it'll
out.
be a couple IT staff members, probably 2-3 IT staff members that will be in with the AT&T team. They do this stuff every day, and so we're going to send some prep information out to staff and to try and help prepare everybody for this, and then they'll help us with the migration.
Okay, if we approve this, when does this go into effect then?
They want to get going as soon as possible. So based on this, we're probably looking at November, December timeframe, but they want to move, and we want to get this done as well.
Gotcha. So we're looking hopefully before the end of the year.
Yep, it'll be before the end of the year.
That's it. Thank you.
So thank you. So are there any dead zones that these phones won't work in the city?
We haven't experienced dead pockets, just like with Verizon. Verizon have any really dead zones per se. They're just areas where the coverage just isn't as great. And that's going to be with any carrier, T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T. There will be a certain area in the city that doesn't have. But what I will say, our police fleet has been with AT&T FirstNet using the same network with patrol cars driving all over the city since 2018. And we have not had a significant issue with them.
So does the Decatur area, that's been a trouble spot? Does this work pretty well in that area?
So what I can't say definitively, because I haven't had my FirstNet phone and actually been out in the Decatur area and checked it, but we would have known if that patrol car for the school resource officer was having a problem there, and we
Okay.
haven't had that.
That's good news. So this will start soon if we vote on this. And I was going to ask about the staff time to transition. So probably just a few days and,
Yeah, it's going to be over a period of a few days, probably 3-4 days. We'll structure because we won't be able to. Staff will be on vacation, and we're going to get the majority of staff, but it's going to be an effort. So we're going to have to carefully plan this. But yeah,
so does this include council too?
yeah, because there'll be iPads too. Yes, yep, and phones. If you guys are still, I know some council members still carry phones.
Thank you.
Lydia?
Yeah, thank you. So you have 200 and some iPhones, correct, or phones?
Yeah.
200 and,
Or is it total? It's back in the beginning. 283.
280.
395. Roughly.
so are staff required to have cell phones?
Some are, yes. Not all.
Not all.
It's department dependent, yeah.
So this does not represent the whole
Whole city?
staff body then?
No. I mean, we're close. We're very close. Because remember, if you look at the budget documents, the city has 400 FTE, roughly. I think it's a little bit over. So it's nearly all of them. But we also do have some phones for temporary employees, you know, like at our community center that do day camp. They need phones. If there's an emergency or something like that, they need to be able to communicate. So they carry. So we actually have some lines for temporary employees as well. So not all full-time staff have phones, but we're getting pretty dang close to it.
Okay, and if staff chooses, they can use their own personal phone?
Yes. That's not something that the city really has a full policy on at this point. We should.
I mean, I can speak to that if you.
Yeah.
We do have a policy on it. We just don't have a prohibition saying you aren't allowed to use your phone for work business. If you do use your phone for work business, you know, Public Records Act applies. So that's the warning we give people. People are just, I use my own phone as an example, just because I don't want to carry two phones around my entire life. And I just reconcile that with, I'm willing to show the world my phone. But people who aren't, we usually give them a phone. And then, you know, there's a lot of staff that just don't need phones. We have admin staff that are in the building, their job is to be here and answer phones. They don't need a cell phone.
All right. I don't see any other questions.
I move to forward the proposal migration of cellular lines from Verizon to AT&T FirstNet to the November 5th, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 3-0. Thank you. Thomas, you have the next one. Computer replacement.
Thank you. All right. So this one's going to be a little more interactive, a little more picture heavy, just to give you a perspective. So before you is a purchase of replacement computers and computer peripherals. And there we go, press the right button. So the city follows a 5-year replacement cycle. So our majority of our equipment for PCs, laptops, are around a 5-year replacement cycle. This item before you tonight is for systems that were originally purchased around 2020. Windows 10 also has reached the end of life, and we must upgrade this to Windows 11. And so the newer operating system requires newer generation of processors. It has to do with a security chip that new ones support, and so that kind of forces a lot of our hands. Older devices don't meet this minimum specification for compatibility, so it's another reason why we need to do this. IT was allocated a budget approved by council for $432,300 for replacement computers. We have already spent $131,689 already for police, community development, and public works for their ruggedized mobile laptops. And this order will be ordering all from Dell off the state NASPO contract, totaling $294,522.50. And for the quantity, as you can see below, I'm not going to go through every single line item, but I'll just pause briefly and say these are for the computers for the most part, tower workstations and laptops, a variety of different purposes for different work purposes. Here are a lot of the accessories, so from monitors to backpacks and keyboards and mice and extra spare chargers and whatnot that tend to get lost from time to time. So of course we've got laptops, and then a couple of people really enjoy the tablet style, so we've got a few of those on the list as well. Desktops, the one on the left is typical. That's what we buy the most of for desktop purposes, and then the tower is for engineers. A lot of times in public works, we need to put video cards in there because they're doing CAD work, traffic simulations and whatnot. Monitors, Again, the larger ones are typically, again, work dependent. Our standardized is 24-inch, but for the larger 32, those are meant for like plan review. So a lot of the engineers and the plan reviews in community development are using the larger ones to deal with blue beam and all the plans. And then these are accessories, docks, keyboards, pins, backpacks, and that's it.
All right. I don't see any blue light.
That was easy money. I move to forward the proposed purchase to the November 5th, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Matter passed 3-0. Thank you. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we are ready to move on to item G. Approve AP voucher September 1st through 30, 2025, and approve payroll voucher for September 1 through 30, 2025. Steve?
I need to do the screen sharing thing, I know, right? There we go. I'm going to introduce David Lang. David took the place of Chase Donnelly a while back. He's been with the city 6 years. He's our accounting manager. If I'm not here, he'll be taking my place, so I'm going to let him present this item.
Thank you, Steve. Good evening, Chair and Council. I'm going to do the presentations of the accounts payable and payroll voucher report. So of the month September, for the accounts payable, we spent 12 million, primary spending on the construction projects. So from the 7.8 million, so we spent M&O facility 4.9 million, fiber optic 279, 288 road diet, phase 2 we spent 264, Redondo Creek we spent 1 million. So in the voucher report right here, you see the negative 51 and positive 51,000 right there, just because we deduct the retainage. In the check we cut to the vendor, then we send the money to the escrow, which is the Washington Trust Bank. So for the payroll voucher, for the September is slightly increased from the last month in August, just because we have the quarterly payroll taxes we pay at the end of the quarter. So thank you, Councilmember Honda, to send us the questions in advance. We are always available in finance and happy to answer all questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul?
Yeah, can you go back one slide, please? Yeah. First question I have is underneath the jail services, we have medical and mental health. I noticed on page 3 there's a booking fee. Is that booking fee also associated in that number right there?
I think we missed that because
I don't think
Councilmember
I've seen it
Center,
before, so.
yeah, when we saw the questions, that popped up as a surprise to us. So I think we omitted that we try to group them all, we try to catch all the different categories, and I think we missed the booking one.
No problem. Yeah, I don't remember seeing booking in the past, so that's what popped my mind when I was flipping through them.
Yeah, that was a keying error on the last digit, and we ended up having to write a journal entry to book it back over, so I think we missed it when we grouped them.
Got you, no problem. And then the second one is, as I was spinning through it, there's a lot of PD vehicles with not maintenance, but repairs and stuff. Do we track how much we do in repairs and, it sounds like accidents and stuff?
PD does. We have budgetary control. So when we do our biennial budget, we put an estimate, and then that's what we try to track it to, whether they keep it to, or, as I mentioned, we can go over and under on a lot of different line items, but that's where we track it. It's within the budgetary control of the PD.
Gotcha, so underneath the PD's biannual budget line item, there is an actual subcategory that's gonna be for quote-unquote, like that kind of repair thing that they would fall underneath of?
I believe so, and it'll get complicated because we also have a fleet manager that manages the repair and maintenance of the vehicles that are not PD, and then there's also risk management for the things that are covered with insurance. So we've got a lot of different areas where we
Right.
manage and track.
All right, I'll look at them again, but I might have a question on those later then. Thank
Sure,
you, Dale.
that's what we're here for. And I meant to have David answer all these questions.
So,
Member Honda?
thank you for answering my voucher questions. On the question on the K-9, Mongo, so his lodging was $9,400 plus another $400. Was this, where is he from, and why did we pay for lodging? Why didn't he just go home with his carrier,
Did you
with
happen
his
to look at the
officer?
invoice? Stacy Robinson pulled the invoices, and I looked at it unless you did.
I didn't look at the
Yeah.
detail.
I don't know why it says lodging, because it was for the purchase of the K-9, I guess we say we purchased a K-9 officer, is that what we say? And then the $400 was a tariff fee, it was from a kennel in Pennsylvania.
Okay, so,
And
so he wasn't lodged at a really
Yeah.
nice hotel somewhere? He
Right,
was-
right, it was simply the purchase and then the tariff, yes.
So how many K-9s do we have now? Is that 3?
We have to check with police department.
Nobody knows? Okay. My other question is on page 44, we had 4 police department auto claims, and they named the car, the number of the car. And then on page 64, there were several more PD vehicle repairs. And I asked if those were the same vehicles, and the answer was that they were processed through Law and Risk Department, but it doesn't really answer if they were the same vehicles.
I got that answer from Commander Buchanan and Kristen Gregory. Let me follow that up, because I was relying on their information to be able to identify which specific vehicles that was. I'll follow that one up.
And so what happens when a vehicle is out of service for a while? Do we have other police cars that are loaned to the officer? I assume these are their cars that they take home.
Yeah, that's managed by Commander Buchanan and Kristen Gregory.
Okay.
Sometimes the officer, I don't know if there's ever an officer without, but when a vehicle is out of service, they do have to shuffle around.
Okay,
I'll have to have them answer that for you, because I don't know. In finance, we don't,
all right.
more of an operational question.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Dovey?
Yeah, the one question I had, we spend, what is it, about 181,000 for PSE, electricity and things like that. With the change of daylight savings, will we spend more now because it's darker earlier? Will that rate go up, or is that pretty much standard?
That's a question I'll have to ask EJ, because he, intuitively, I think you're right. I think during dark, shorter days, longer nights, the electricity, intuitively, I think that's correct. I'll check with EJ.
And it would just seem like, as you go through it, and we pay a lot to them, do they give discounts like AT&T does for having a lot of street lights or phones? I mean, has anybody ever asked the question?
I don't think we can swap them out. I don't think they give
No, but I
free
mean, I don't
cases.
know. It's not a lot of, anyway, that was just my question. Thank you.
Council President?
Thank you, Chair. So, Steve, remind me, who is our insurer again for our vehicles? Is that AWC?
It's WCIA,
WCIA,
Washington City's Insurance Authority.
correct. Okay, so do we go up to a certain amount, and then we have an umbrella policy over and above the certain amount?
No, each vehicle's insured, basically we tell them, we give them a list of the vehicles that are going to be insured. And
So-
it's for the replacement value of the vehicle.
Okay, so, and liability, is that also?
Liability is covered under the tort part of our insurance.
So my question again is, do we have an umbrella policy for liability over and above a certain amount?
We do not, no. The
But
insurance company
WCIA does?
Yes, so they have 3 tiers of coverage. The pool covers, I believe, the first 4 million, and then they have secondary and a tertiary policy that's pool-wide, it's not specific. to this.
So where are we in terms of the pool? Are we one of the bigger?
I believe we might be the largest. We're, if not the largest, one of the largest. We're in the largest category.
Yeah, you never want to be the largest. But, so I just want to make sure we're covered liability-wise, because some of the liability, but you don't know what their liability coverage is.
I
In-
don't off the top of my head the top numbers. I know, it's the 20 and $30 million range.
Okay.
But,
Is it
it's
in
pool-
total or per vehicle?
I'm sorry?
In total or per vehicle?
The umbrella stuff is per incident.
Oh, good, that's good. Okay, well, thank you. Oh, by the way, who is handling the risk management, the insurance, going after the other party?
Us, my paralegal does that.
Your paralegal, okay.
Well, she gets help from staff as well, but mostly it's her.
And then she probably gets help from WCIA for advice.
They do subrogation on everything that is covered by them, but we have a lot of stuff that isn't covered by them, so light poles is a big one that we generally go after the insurance company directly. We haven't seen a loss that was worth suing over for a very long time.
Okay, thank you.
Mostly it's collection against insurance companies.
So Ryan, if one of our vehicles is in an accident and the vehicle is not being used for a city activity, let's say they're driving home or probably driving home, do we still cover that? Or is that covered through their own insurance?
No, we cover it, they're only allowed to use the vehicles, with the exception of a few command staff, I believe the chief of police and maybe the two chiefs. Officers are not to use their vehicles for personal use, it's commuting only. So they gotta drive it home, park it. If they use it for a purpose that's not authorized, we'd have to look at what they were doing with it. But for the most part, yes, if someone gets in an accident driving to or from work, then we cover it.
So I know during COVID, we had some parks employees driving trucks home. Do we still allow that?
Yes, there are, I believe the inspectors are driving the vehicles home, and do you know anyone else? There are some people that work out of their vehicles, basically, and they are taking them home.
And they are also insured?
Yes.
So is every vehicle we have insured?
Well, there's two different things. There's insuring the physical vehicle, and then there's the liability of driving. So all the liability for driving is covered for everybody. Whether or not the vehicle is on our covered list depends on the vehicle. So I don't believe all the public works vehicles are insured. Some of them, it just doesn't make sense to insure them. The
Because
police
of their
vehicles
age?
are all- Yes, because of their age. So the police vehicles are all insured.
Even the ones that are over 10 years old?
I shouldn't say all. All is a bad word. I believe that all the cruisers, all the Explorers that you see out here, the normal police cars, specialty vehicles, probably not. Very expensive vehicles, I don't believe we've insured the bomb vehicles. Some of the vehicles that are, $250,000, it's just not cost effective to insure them.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I do have a follow-up question regarding the PSC expenditure that brought up by Councilmember Dovey. So have we ever done an analysis on solar power to see if we can potentially save money in the long run?
Not in the 4 years that I've been here, but I am certain that EJ has told me that we have in the past. It's very common for consultants to approach agencies, so I would bet that we have, but there's all manner of energy-saving measures, and that's something that I'm certain that EJ has done. I don't know how long. It's been more than 4 years. I'm sure, for example, I'll bet that we converted our entire streetlight network to LEDs at one point, and that would have been a major savings.
Yeah, I know that for the homeowner, it would take us forever to capture the investment But for the city, I mean, we are gonna be here for a long, long, long time, right? So,
Right, and homeowners have an advantage if you, the one thing you can say that there's an advantage to homeowners' energy savings is they get tax deductions. Well, we don't pay income tax here, so we don't get a tax deduction. So we have to get purely the savings in electricity usage for it to make sense for us.
okay, I'm just curious. Thank you. All right. Can I have a motion, please?
I move to forward the vouchers to the November 5th, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Matter pass 3-0. Thank you. We are moving.
Good job.
Yeah, good job. Thank you. We are moving on to item H, approve monthly financial report for September 2025. Mr. Room.
I would love to bring you some good news or some surprises or something. This is going to look very, very much like the previous months. But my commitment is to update you every single month on what we see, bring you the good news and the bad news. This month's inflation report came a few days late with the government shutdown, but they just did release it, and the inflation nationally went up a touch from 2.9 to 3%. Let me get rid of the meeting controls, the video. Yep. Really? There we go. Sales tax revenue continues to be just sluggish. It's unfavorable to budget, but it's better than prior year, and I believe, now I've got two graphs here that I'm showing. One of them on the left with the blue bars, that's the cumulative year-to-date of the first 8 months of every year, the current year and the prior years, and we're just a touch higher than last year, but not nearly as good as we were in 2023. And of course, the larger graph shows how the current year is tracking compared to the blue bar, the prior year, and then gray, the budget. But if I also go to, it's not clicking. There we go. I have a little bar graph where I try to look month by month, comparing each month this year to the same month in prior years. And in 5 out of the 8 months so far, we've done better than last year. So we've had 4 months in a row. That fuels a little bit of optimism, but not much, because obviously we are still not performing up to the level that we budgeted. So this is all of the tools that I can think of to help us forecast how we're going to continue to do the rest of the year. Unrestricted utility tax, we did have that one large bump in the prior month, and now we're kind of on the same trajectory that we were. We're favorable to budget, and we're over prior year. I think this is the only principal revenue that we have that is favorable to budget, and of course, it's much higher than prior year. Property tax revenue, I thought I'd throw this in. It's tracking really, really close to exactly where it ought to be. In the next 2 months, we will be getting the second half of most property owners' tax payments. And I expect us to, almost every year, we almost always get exactly what we levied. Not very much of a surprise there, but it's it's on the scale of $12 billion, so it's worth reporting, just so we don't omit it and leave you wondering. Real estate excise tax continues to be unfavorable. We have known this now for 3 years consecutively. This has meant that we have had to delay some of the projects in our our transportation CIP. And we all expect that real estate excise tax will recover when mortgage rates improve. And how are rates doing? The Fed has done just some very small interest rate drops. They have been not very quick to bring them down. Like they did bring them down quickly in 2020. There was a major event happening there. That was during the pandemic. So this time we are still watching and waiting to see what's going to happen with the mortgage rates, and this is where they're at. Our permit fee revenue is similar. We're doing better than last year, not as good as budget. And that's kind of a recurring theme. Again, if I look for individual months, I can point to quite a few months that were better than last year. But cumulatively, if you look at that gold graph on the left, we're just a little bit better than last year in total. Interest revenue, no news there. We went through a lot of cash early in the year, and that has affected us. So we're a little bit unfavorable to budget there, and we're unfavorable to the prior year as well, just a touch. Lodging tax revenue, well, okay, there's a favorable one, but the scale is much, much smaller, and this is also a restricted revenue. This is only restricted to the lodging tax usage. But it's positive, so it gives us a little glimmer of a positive economic indicator. I'll take good news. Our local economy, if the hoteliers and the hospitality-related industries are doing well, then I think that's a positive I'd like to make sure that I do report. Cash-wise, we continue to be returning back to our pre-ARPA level. It'll take us another year or so, but we're starting to scale back our long-term investments because we're managing our liquidity, making sure we keep about $20 million that's always liquid, should we need it at a moment's notice. So I have a table that I showed last month, and I'll show it again. Our variance to budget, if you look at our 5 large funding sources, the variance to budget, it's about $1 million. It's better than, it's quite a bit better than prior year, but it's falling short of budget. As I think we've discussed before, we have conversations with the mayor and the city manager, city administrator. All the department heads are managing their expenses. That's a small percentage to the total city budget, but it does mean that that's going to be a draw on the resources, the fund balances of the city in total. So we're continuing to do what we've always done. Departments are managing their expenses. We're watching revenue closely, and it just, it's just on that gray area. It's not good, it's not bad, it's really sluggish. So we're being vigilant for surprises. We are greenlighting nothing new. Everything that comes up, we park on the waiting list. We do not lose any budget needs that we need to be mindful of. And that's my financial report. Happy to entertain questions.
Thank you, Steve. Mr. Dovey?
Yeah, Steve, could you go back to 3 slides where you have this one right here?
Oh.
Excuse me.
Yep.
2 slides, I guess.
The bad news, the ugly one. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we're going into November. And to budget, we're 1.1 million off of what we forecast.
Right.
Which means we're off. That means we don't have the money. It's not that we have overspent it, it's just we don't have it to spend on, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So for the last 2 months, are we gonna have a freeze on spending, or tell people, hey, we're gonna need to move these projects back, we're gonna put a hiring freeze in, or what are we gonna do to proactively make sure that that's a budget number, that we don't exceed what we budgeted?
Well, technically, legally, the government accounting rules count 2 things as resources: the current year's revenue and the existing fund balances that we've accumulated. Because most years will have revenue come in a little bit better than budget, and expenses should be a little bit less than budget, because people have to stay within budget. And we try to budget cautiously, conservatively on our revenue, so they should come in higher. That's where the additional resources come. So this means that we're going to be drawing. When I presented on our audited financials, I showed that we had a lot of strength in our fund balances. So we're drawing upon that instead of cutting services.
So we're drawing on our savings.
Yeah.
We're not, which we may not want to do, but that's what you're suggesting.
Because if it's a choice of cutting back on services or drawing upon our reserves, and it also involves looking at the future. Where do we think our city is going? I know it's a weak thing to point to 4 years in a row of positive, better than prior year sales tax revenue, but nevertheless, we look at our city and we think, are we okay? Are we getting better? Do we have optimism for our sales tax? Sales tax is the single biggest indicator.
There was one slide, and maybe, I don't know if I saw it on here, but on our report, and we got emailed, there was our expenses are higher than our revenue right now. Was that the first slide you showed, or what?
It's on the very first page of the narrative in your packet.
But it wasn't on here.
I don't think so.
Yeah, because on that very my battery's dying on my phone, so I can't pull it back up.
This guy right here.
The one where it was like 9% and 6%, something like that.
Just reset, of course.
I mean, you had a graph.
Yeah, yes,
And
yes.
why don't we show that? I mean, why didn't you lead off with that?
Ah,
I mean, it just puts it in perspective. It's nothing bad or anything, but it would be very nice.
I'll admit to
a
being,
visual.
yeah, I'm slow to make changes, yeah.
Okay, well, maybe, okay.
Right, because I don't want to hide bad news, right?
Well, you don't. I don't think you do. I just.
Yeah, right.
And where's the plus 498? You know, we got the what?
That's the-
800,000 in the unexpected. That's where that's factored in?
Yes.
So
Yes.
if that windfall hadn't come in, we would have been upside down 600?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so it would be about 1.7 million
Yeah.
off budget. Okay, thank you.
Oh, okay. Why, thank you. The utility tax rebate program, you know, you were working on that to change it. Have you done anything with it? Have you had time?
I have made no further progress. I've found the average billing for residential customers for sewer and water from Lake Haven, and I need to find out how to get the same information from the other utilities, and I have not made that progress.
Is there anything I can do to help instead of going into this 2026 with the same old program that really isn't useful?
Thank you for your offer. We've been rather shorthanded, and I've been struggling with time, so,
Okay.
thank you.
I'm more than willing to help. I wanted to help the people that we created it for.
Yes.
The red light camera, red light photo revenue, which is down. So it pays for quite a few employees, quite a few positions. How are we managing that? What are we doing with that?
That's a restricted fund, and the positions, I'm certain are still there. I think it's the equipment-related things that have been delayed on that funds.
I don't know what you mean by equipment delays.
Off the top of my head, I don't remember what, in addition to salaries, that it pays for.
So it pays for
there-
one lieutenant, 13 police officers.
Oh, it's in the
six-
narrative, isn't it? Yeah.
6 city traffic positions, municipal court security services,
Yeah.
red light photo services, Valleycom emergency communication services, school zone enhancement, capital improvement projects, and patrol vehicles. So of that, something must be impacted.
David, he had to step out. I am thinking that we may be drawing upon our fund balance in that as well. Let me double check that.
Okay. Because we don't, that's been down every single month, right?
Right.
So and that was brought up quite frequently the other night in a discussion by somebody. So I want to bring up the Target property, the 4.8 million interfund loan that's due in November.
Yes.
Well, I understand that we don't have the funding to pay for it now because we haven't received the $10 million from
The developer.
the developer. At what point do we decide that we just have to go out for another loan to pay that off so that, because it cannot be long-term, it has to be short-term?
That's an ongoing discussion that we're having with Keith Niven and the mayor and the city administrator. There isn't a hard red line. It's every year as we close the books on our financials, do we still believe that we're presenting our financials fairly? And so far, we do.
So do you think we can go another year without paying ourselves back?
If we believe that the likelihood of the sale of that property would extinguish the loan, yes.
So I would just say I'm a little concerned about that. I think we're going into, we are into some type of a recession. And I certainly hope that property is developed. I don't want to see it sitting there forever because it's sat there forever as it is. But I bet it's going to be pretty hard to develop. at this point. And I hope it works out. I hope that we get the 10 million because I really like Trent and I like what he has proposed to do on the property. But I think we need to take control of the situation and figure out sooner than later what we're going to do. So thank you.
Councilmember McDaniel.
Let Debbie go, I'm going for a while.
You sure?
Yeah, put me at last.
Mr. Dovey.
I guess I'd just make one comment on the Trent or the Target building. Unless there's a state law that says we have to convert it to do something else, I'd rather not have to go out and borrow money for it and pay interest. I mean, yeah, it's a pain that they haven't closed yet, and I think they have until 2026 to do something, so we do need to plan it, but I wouldn't suggest we go out and find new money to pay that off to do our interfund, because we borrow from ourselves cheaper than we will from anybody else. But
I just want to know the plan.
yeah, I acknowledge your concern, because I'm concerned also, but that's not, I'm more concerned about our budget being
Right.
awful, by what it is today.
I mean, the state auditors, if you go on their webpage, it clearly says that if it goes over 3 years, they take a deeper dive into how the city's managing their funds, so.
Yeah, and we've been a year and a half now?
No, 3 years,
Well,
it's due in
I'm thinking
November.
back Trent, when they did the deal.
22 or 23?
I'm not sure, and in our last city council meeting, Keith Niven was sitting right there, and he gave us an update. Yeah, and I was thinking that we had till 2027.
Yeah, we still have a little bit of time on that contract, I
Yeah.
think. But,
Well, yeah, Trent is,
yeah,
2027, yeah.
okay, that was only my comment.
Oh, go ahead.
Steve, I'd like to start by saying thanks for meeting me with your team today and going over that stuff. I did not want to bore everybody with my questions, and I like to drill in on this. I will state, though, as I mentioned earlier with you, I've been looking at books since 2014 for this place. I enjoy looking at the numbers, even when I wasn't on council, even when I didn't show up here. I've been looking at the books since 2014 and seeing how they've changed and where we've been in places. I have way more concern than other people up here, just because I am not very optimistic most of the time, especially when it comes to numbers. If you can go back to your chart that shows the current shortcomings.
On the principal revenues,
Yeah.
you're going to make me keep showing that slide, yes, sir?
Oh, I am. Well, so I'm looking at this right now, and it's got sales tax, property tax, utility tax, permit fees, and interest. Those pretty much match what we used in the budget for making up this year's and next year's financials. But what this does not show on here is quite a few other revenue streams that the city has. Doesn't have the admissions fees, doesn't have the business license, doesn't have REIT, doesn't have Red Light. It has quite a few, and if you add those in there, that number is quite a bit bigger than what it shows at the moment.
Yes, and this
Now,
is.
this is the one that we used, which I understand why you used.
And this is the general fund,
Yeah, general fund.
not the
But-
restricted stuff.
Understood, but again, we've had a conversation back and forth, things that need to be paid for, if those funds do not exist, they come from the general fund. So this is, in my mind, more of that, obviously, general fund. It can be used for a lot of different things. So while we look at this one, there is a larger pit than I see this paperwork represents. I can look at every single one of our general and street funds, sales, property, state shared, CDs, business license, administration, and then other revenues, which like we had talked about before, it doesn't really give details. When you add up all those numbers, it's 3.1. Now, you did say there's some interest, it's about $1 million that doesn't reflect that. That still puts me at 2.1. So that shows me that it's 2.1 before I even get into red cameras and a few other of the revenue streams that we have in here. The one highlight we have really, for the most part, is the utility tax. And I'll wait till the next agenda item to really go into that one. But there is, in my mind, a lot of concern. Another thing that I don't think people dig into and looked at is we talked about how we're digging into our savings or our fund balances. When I looked at and had a chance, we talked about this, the annual comprehensive financial report, I really had a question on how the totals from 23 to 24 changed so dramatically. Capital grants went from 5.2 million to 29.4 million, and operating grants went from 11 million to 18.9 million. That makes our revenue look like it went from 116 to 147 million. But those are ARPA and those are grant funds.
And some of that is transportation, I think. Yeah.
The big 5 to 29 is a large piece of transportation.
Yes.
But we count those as revenue. So these are a lot, again, one-time hits. And at a recent AWC meeting, we're not the only city that has certain issues that we need to start looking deeper into. And my big concern is sales tax. I looked at the numbers, and I make the argument that the recession for us probably started in '23, about September. In the last 24 months, we've had 2 months that are above budget and 22 months that have failed to meet budget. That's a major concern. When we looked at business licenses last time, it determined that our revenue stream is down, but our business licenses are up. It's because new businesses, we have more new businesses than we did last year, but more of the older businesses are not renewing. Those two things are massive concerns to me. I will be presenting arguments for additional revenue streams next because of these concerns. And I do understand, and I had a council member ask me once when I was making arguments of how I looked at the budget. In the previous budget, we had a $3 million shortfall between REIT and sales tax. We did a forward, what's the term you use for forwarding projects from one year?
Carry forward.
We had to carry forward a $3 million, and then, I don't agree with this at all, but we used investments of 4.2, investment interest of 4.2, which are never gonna hit because we've spent the money. Right there, if you just take the 3 million plus the 3 million, and then using the interest rate of 3 million, that's a $9 million ball that we played with in this situation. Again, you just report the numbers. You can't do anything about that. It's our job to kind of make decisions on that one. But there is some major concerns in my mind for moving forward the future of the city, and knowing that the utility tax of 498, roughly 500, 800,000, that came with a one-time too. It's concern is my big thing, and trying to figure out how we can do some revenue stream increases without doing regressive taxes like we do usually is something that I think the council will need to probably take into consideration sooner than later. I thank you for the time, and I thank you for the information. I wish you could make these numbers look better, but they are what they are at the moment, so.
That's the downside of me bringing revenue every single month. You see it all, right?
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Council President?
Thank you. So, Steve, this is variance budget is for up to the current date, or is it to the end of the year estimated?
This is the current actual. Some of these revenues are on a 2-month lag, some are on a month lag. So it's the most recent that we've received.
Yeah, so it could change depending. But and I'd like to see what the restricted revenues are, current plus anticipated. But at some point, because it's going to double going forward, or it's going to go up based on where we're down now, and next year we're going to be down plus already down. So whether it's double or how much, that number is going to grow. And so at some point, we're going to have a serious discussion. I agree with my colleagues. We have to have a serious discussion how we're going to move forward. And we're not unusual. This is hitting all of the cities. And I'm not sure where we are as far as grants or money from the state or money from federal as far as, transportation. And as this year, we received, I don't believe we received through our state legislatures anything, but we probably did through the Puget Sound Regional Council, PSRC. And, we were promised some money from the federal, but I don't believe we received it. So at some point, we're going to have a serious discussion, I believe, after the first of the year where we're moving forward. And at that point, we're going to have either pretty much the same council or a new council or whomever is on the council. So it'll be a good thing to get them involved in making decisions moving forward. So,
And I will offer to spend time with each of the incoming council members. I probably met with each of you when I came on, but when we get new council members, I always try to be on the list of people that come in and do an orientation.
Okay, thank you.
So that they see what they've signed up for.
Yeah, the one follow-up question I have, or comment I have, is the numbers that we saw are not inflation adjusted, are they? So it's dollar to dollar, whatever last year's dollar is to this year's dollar.
The revenue, that's correct.
So it's
Yes,
not,
yes,
so
that-
there's another 4% that would have to be taken into consideration. So 4% of $1 million is,
Sales tax is the one that I think is most susceptible to that 4% when we've had 4%. Yep, exactly.
thank you.
Thank you. So moving forward, I want to make sure that the ARPA projects that are still not finished, are not impacted by the reduction in revenues that we have, because that money came to us from the federal government. We worked really long and hard to figure out how we wanted to spend it, and I want to make sure that that money is spent on the projects that we decided to.
And that report, that page is in your monthly
Yes.
financial report every month, yeah.
I move to forward the September 2025 monthly financial report to the November 5th, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 3-0. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
Sure.
Okay, we are moving on to the last item of the night, and this is the, for discussion only. Councilmember Paul McDaniel will lead the discussion.
Thank you, Chair. This originally was something I sent out back in January, and then throughout the year, we talked about it and finally got it moved forward. It was supposed to be put on here, it was just a miscommunication with the agenda creation. So my discussion today is on non-regressive revenues. The happen to be the one I'm talking about is cannabis. Before I go forward with that, I'd like to actually maybe do a quick recap on some of the things the city has done in the past for a revenue stream. There's a two-part to this conversation. The one is to talk about additional revenue streams for the city, and the second part is also making a decision before this council moves forward on what their thoughts are and if they want to put this in the box more than it already is, or if we allow another council in the future to just let the, pretty much the jack in the box out of the box. So two-part on that one. The first one is, as I just mentioned, is my concern on a revenue stream. Before I got on council, I did not know what a regressive tax was. Since being on council, I have thoroughly educated myself on that one. And layman's terms for it is an aggressive tax means a larger percent of the tax comes from a lower income bracket. So every time we do a tax that affects the general public, it affects those with the lowest income the most. Most of the time we see that is going to be a sales tax, property tax, a utility tax, some of the most common taxes that we have as a city. Over the years, the city council has made changes. I have a few of the notes from the changes we've made in the past in order to try to balance out some budgets. One of the first one is in 2006, council made a decision to put on a ballot a utility tax increase from 6 to 7.75%. That one was approved and the increase went into effect. In 2008, the property taxes were roughly 2.9 million. Sales tax was 12.1 million, and utility tax was roughly 13.5 million. That was in 2008. 10 years later, in 2018, property tax has grown to 10.8 from 9.2. Sales tax had grown to 14.7 from 12.1, but utility tax had gone down from 13.5 to 11.7. None of these numbers are inflation adjusted at all. They're just hard numbers. The majority of that reason was cell phones. There was a tax change and people had been switching around from different modes of vehicles that we were using utility taxes for. Around that time in 2018, the city had a shortfall in the budget, and there was a vote 5-2 where there was a 7.75% tax added to businesses providing water and sewer utilities. That was one of the revenue generations. It was estimated to bring in about $1 million. Moving forward to around the July timeframe of 2019, Public Works was doing a new solid waste service contract. At that time, the conversation was to, again, another revenue increase in order to balance the budget better, and a 10% tax was included at that time. Most of it was for roads. No matter what we do, we'll always seem to be behind on roads. They're extremely expensive, and I've had quite a few council members and people tell me how expensive those roads are. And it was to get the PCI, or the pavement condition index, at a higher number. So that was the next kind of increase. From that, we also added a tax on, it's not administration, I keep getting that one, emissions. Emission tax was added in 2017. So in every single one of those taxes, except for the emission, I believe, they would be classified as a regressive tax. We do a property tax, 1% every year. This year brought in about $150,000. Last year, it brought in about 250. When I talked to finance, they educated me that the $100,000 difference is in new construction. So it's, again, going back to the REIT being a little bit lower, too. So when I started looking into this and looking for different revenue streams, I was able to find a FedRAC, it was brought to my attention, a FedRAC meeting from back in 2019, where the city council was provided with 17 different revenue scenarios. Of that conversation, some of them were actually ones I was arguing for. There was a lid lift question, which I still think should be on the table for sewers in the future. I think EJ mentioned that there's maybe not the ability to do it for putting in the sewers, but there's ability to work with the sewer district on maybe doing the roads after the sewers get done. So I think there's a possibility for that one. I looked at an Airbnb. It was not viable for us. I looked at a B&O, knowing that B&O can be restricted by different areas. You don't have to have a B&O for everybody. If you pass it, you can zero everything percentage-wise and pick 1 or 2 areas. But the one thing that did go through in 2019 was cannabis tax. The initiative went forward. Since that point, I started digging into that particular item. The council has had this conversation at some point 14 times since 2011. In 2015, it went up to a vote of the people. At that period of time, the yeses were 38%, 38.6%. The noes were 61.3%. In 2019, there was the second time it was brought forward. The council passed it on for a vote. At that point, the yeses were 46.5%, and the noes were 53.4%. In the 2019 FedRAC report, it was estimated at the time, I do not have new numbers, but at the time, it was estimated to bring in roughly $300,000 during that report back in 2019. I've heard those numbers may have changed quite a bit. I do not know what the number is, to be honest, on that one. But what I have, that I have to bring forward to the council is a discussion and a conversation, not on legalizing it, because it's already legal in the state, but in determining on if this council would like to take up restricting it to a restricted zoning location. Commercial industrial is the one that I've looked into. And at the same time, we are allowed at 4 locations or 4 retail locations. If the council wants to, if they're willing to go forward with allowing it in those restricted areas, if they'd like to even restrict that down to 1 or 2 locations. This is a non-regressive tax. I will argue, when I say argue, I meant have the discussion. I use it in that terminology. Either on merits of revenue stream, or I will argue it on merits of vices and on a moral ground. Doesn't matter to me. The thing that really brings this home to me is the fact that over the years, the one thing that really stood out to me is the amount of times I talk to seniors. And when I talk to seniors, the number one thing they are looking for is community and food. And they are looking for the $8 to $10 meal. It's still at this point kind of shakes my head a little bit, but that is something that really gets to me. And President Kochmar has mentioned multiple times, she knows people who are on extremely restricted funds. Every time we do a regressive tax, it is not the kids, it is not the middle income, it's not those guys who hit as much as it's the seniors. As I've said it before, they are the number one group of citizens or residents who are becoming homeless. Sadly, we are taxing them out. If you do not pay your property tax, the government does not care, you're gone. It's a fact. I have a real problem with that one. I like to have the council have the conversation and discussion, like I said, on a moral basis, on a tax basis, but my request was going to be to have action to move it forward to restrict the location of cannabis retail shops to strictly CE, which is a single step, requires an ordinance, will be after my time anyways. And the second one is, do we restrict in that same time frame the amount of licenses that we allow? If we do not make the decision now, with the way the vote has changed from 38 to 46, and that was in a 4-year gap, it has been another 6 years since then. We are a more progressive than conservative area. It will pass a vote. And if we do not make a decision to put it in a box, it will be wherever retail is allowed. So my conversation for today is 1, talk about the revenue stream, and 2, putting it in a box. And if not, then I expect it to be in commercial zones, in retail locations in the near future.
All right, thank you, Paul.
No problem.
Lydia?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, there were 3 locations that were 4?
We have 4 licenses at the moment.
Okay. Okay, I thought there were 3. And I think they had already identified locations which since have changed.
There's 3 licenses. I have the paperwork. 3 licenses are owned by, 4 licenses. 3 of them are owned by one individual, and 1 license is owned by another. They are not licensed in the city to do business. They have the state side. I've talked to the Liquor Control Board and Cannabis, whatever it is. I've had some meetings with them and had some reports and data pulled from them. If the council decides to remove the moratorium and allow it to be whatever way we do it, then they have to still register, and then they would have to have a location found within the area or the zone that we allow if we restrict the zoning. But it is up to 4 retail. And the other conversation is we are allowed to, legally, correct me if I'm wrong, limit the amount of licenses that we actually allowed to have in the city through the ordinance. So it could be 4, it could be 2, it could be 1 theoretically. No more than 4, unless you pick up a license that is social equity license. That is closed down, but if you have a social equity license, the city is allowed to increase the number via that one. That's not on the table at the moment, though.
Mr. Walsh?
Yeah, on both of those times that it went for a referendum, an advisory vote for the people, I chaired both of the campaigns against the legalization, or the letting there be pot shops here in Federal Way. And my biggest concern then, and remains to be, is the message that it sends to young people. And at that time, I was, I recognize it's legal within the state. I recognize that people who want it are going to get it. And I certainly would not. I think it was a mistake to, on behalf of the state, to legalize it. I certainly don't. I would be in favor of would have been in favor of decriminalization. I don't think that somebody should be going to prison for possession of marijuana. That's uncalled for. But my concern is the message that it sends to young people. When we take a look at back, there's several of us that are on the council that remember back in the days when TV commercials, TV commercials and other things were spouting, about tobacco. The Marlboro Man and all of that, and and the work that the society went through to remove that type of stuff, and since then, the rate of tobacco use has decreased, and as a result, the rate of deaths from tobacco use has decreased also. In the time since cannabis has been legalized, in the states where it has been legalized, death rates have gone up from drug-impaired driving involving cannabis. The hospital admissions on the behalf of young people have gone up as well. And like I say, my biggest concern is the message that it sends. It sends the message that, hey, it's okay. It shouldn't be okay. It shouldn't be okay. It is if an adult wants to use it, hey, that's their prerogative. But we should not be sending that message to the youth. And if there's if there's a cannabis shop in town, a pot shop in town, and the sign in front of it, how's that different than the sign of the old signs promoting tobacco use, cigarette use? It's the same thing. We should not do anything to promote it. We should be discouraging it. And so that was my argument back then when I chaired those committees. And today, there is all the more evidence that those concerns were valid.
Mr. Dovey, and then Council President.
It's great that we can have the discussion at the dais, but I don't believe that we're in a finance meeting, so we can talk about revenue. and then we have a land use issue. So I don't see how any of this could pass out of this commission, off this dais to go anywhere. But what little research I've done, and I can't say I'm an expert, but when I went and Googled how much revenue the city of Auburn got from having cannabis shops, totally, was $59,000 for their whole city. I don't know how many shops they have, and I don't know what that looks like, and I may have Googled it incorrectly, but the amount of revenue versus the amount of expense is probably not worth our bother to even consider it. Now, if you want to talk about land use, I mean, I think we need to do the study, and Paul, you bring up some valid points. You know, if you're going to have it in your zoning map, maybe we should look at the zoning, but that's a whole nother discussion and a whole lot of time. And, you know, I'm not willing to make this decision or move any of this stuff forward tonight. It's a great discussion, but, I mean, and those, and you did a lot of great research back on utility tax back in 2006. I was around back then. I was around when the first utility tax came. They all came out for specific. One was for police officers, one was for road overlay, one was for the Knutson Center, one was for Celebration Park. They all had specific projects why those utility taxes came out, and then, of course, they never sunsetted. So that was always a discussion, a topic of discussion, except for the police one. And then all the other dates you talked about, of course, I wasn't here, and it was Councilmember Honda, Tran, Lydia, and Linda. You guys were all here debating those things. So, but again, my point is you've got great information, but I'm not willing to take it out of here and move it to any agenda or anything. There's way too much to be done to even to talk about it. Thank you.
Council President.
Well, probably contrary to what some people think, I did vote in the House to legalize marijuana. And I did that because I didn't want children going to jail for smoking pot. I don't want children smoking pot. I don't want my children smoking pot, but I'm not going to be in favor of them going to jail if they did. Do I think that there's some value in people who have medical concerns? Yeah. Do I know what marijuana is today? I don't, because I know that fentanyl is in everything. Do I want that in my city? You know, we had 2 advisory votes. Both voted no. You can say because of. We've had votes before. Actually, in this city, on this council, not me, when they were voting for a particular issue, and they said, well, they voted against it, but they were so close, so we're going to go do it anyway. I guess maybe one thing I'd like to know really more than anything is, you know, I'm more concerned about, okay, and I can tell you what happened, because I was in the halls when this was being discussed in the legislature, that there were people on the other side of the aisle who were proposing this legislation who said that if we don't have enough revenue in the state, the money that we've given to the cities will just take it back, the sales tax. So do I trust that that will remain as a tax to offset any problems that we have in police issues? I don't trust them at all because I heard them with my own ears. And some of those people are still there. I'm very concerned about moving forward with this issue. We're not that big of a city. If you want to buy pot, I happen to know friends who do go to other cities right across the boundary. I mean, but do I want it right across from Federal High School, which is one of the sites? No, not at all. Do I want it over in the Costco area? That's not particularly. That's one of the other sites we were looking at in zoning. So I'm not particularly, and not only that, we're going to have a new council beginning the first of the year. They may have different ideas, and if they want to bring it up, they can bring it up. But I guess I'm more concerned is, why are we even talking about it, I guess, really? But and I understand, you know, everybody has different points and different ideas on issues. That's my opinion. Thanks.
I'll comment on those. Thank you for your input. Most of what I heard was mall-based. The reason we're having this conversation is we are over $2 million in debt. We have had sales revenues down for 22 out of 24 months. REIT is down. Our red light cameras is almost $1 million down. We have put into the budget interest income that will not exist in the future. Where does that money come from? In order to balance our budget, we move projects from one year to the next year consistently. We have over $17 million in unfunded liabilities in 2027. And in 2027, when you guys do the budget, they'll be in 2029. That is part of the conversation. Is it a small amount? We don't know. We honestly don't know what the
Then
number
we
is.
should start cutting instead of looking for some small number. I mean.
I'm not disagreeing with that one. And then
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, go.
If you take those numbers, then it's our responsibility to say, okay, starting in November, or we need to cut. And we need to say, we're not going to do something, and nobody's going to be happy. I've been through that when we had to cut back on the council once, and we had massive changes. But adding a small amount of number for something that the people have passed twice that they don't want in our community, we haven't done the land use, and they may have changed. I'm not, it hasn't been a vote, but we got to do land use, you got to do this. We're talking about a rounding error amount of money, and if the concern is, you know, the numbers you're talking about, then this council should be sitting down and saying, okay, we are not going to do this, we're not going to do that, we're going to say, stop this.
Then why
That's how-
haven't we? I've been bringing this conversation for over a year. Why haven't we? We've told them, I remember sitting on this committee. We said, slow down on the hires, put a freeze in. Deaf ears.
Oh.
Multiple times. So the only control we have is the purse. And the second one is on the moral factor of, we don't want our kids touching it. Well, first of all, it's illegal, so I understand that one. The second one is, do we have the same feeling on alcohol? Because there's a big building down that says Total Wine, I believe it's called. We bring in so much. So if it's an argument on the moral basis of vices, sugar is the number one drug that every child is hooked on. And then from that point, we change the vice to maybe caffeine. And then from caffeine, maybe we change it to alcohol. Then maybe it's cannabis, then maybe it goes to opioids or something like that. So if it's on the moral basis where we don't want it in our city, then we need to say no to alcohol. We need to say no to all of them. And the other part is, I'm just gonna make it out there, if you guys decide to pass on this one, you will have it across the street from Federal Way. Because the next council, when everybody here is not sitting here, will not care like you guys do. I'll put that bluntly out there. I've made that comment beforehand. This is probably the most conservative council the city will ever see again. The next group will not care. They'll think, hey, they voted for it. The younger generation, there's a reason why it's a 6-point swing in 4 years. It's the younger generation. They grew up without this disagreements with it. So revenue stream is one of them, but the other one is, in my mind, if we don't put it in a box now, then in the future, it will be wherever it wants to go. So it's, like I said, two parts. But if we're going to do it on a moral basis, then you better shut down a whole lot of other places to keep on the same line. I don't want to see people drinking. I will look at, if we have statistical data, you're going to see more domestic violence, you're going to have alcohol-related. You're going to have more DUIs, you're going to have alcohol-related. You're going to have more violent crime that have alcohol-related. But yet, we don't seem to care about blocking that one out. It's been around too long that people just seem to accept it. But that one in itself is a more demoralizing and destroying thing to society. And that's just going on that part of it. But again, the other part was, if we do not want to pick it up, and I'll take that in consideration before I do anything else, but if we do not pick it up now and put it in a box, then in the future, I'm not going to guarantee, but I strongly feel that that's how it's going to go. And that was a recommendation made by somebody in the staff, actually, of like, put it in a box, put it in a zone, block it out so it can't be everywhere. Because otherwise, it can go anywhere it wants to. And if our conversation is like, it's dangerous, people are driving out of the city to get it and then come back into the city. I don't see that one as being as strong of an argument as if it was going to be on, we don't want it, we don't want the signs, then we need to say outlaw alcohol. We did the gambling once, cost us, I think, $300,000. We can do it again with alcohol, and I'm assuming.
Well, oh, thank you. I appreciate Paul, thank you very much. If you want to talk about finances, the other financial issue is that it's illegal federally. It's legal in the state, but it is illegal federally, which means that the banks can't accept money from the marijuana shops. So what we would have to do is have a state bank. And part of the problem with that is, in order to create the state bank, the discussion was to have pension plans funding the state bank in order to, for marijuana shops to be able to deposit their money. Right now, it's a cash-only basis, but they can't use a regular bank. So the problem is when they go to close at night, 2 in the morning, they're cash-only, and so they're more apt to be robbed than any other facility. And so that's where you have the problem with the police being on site. And so when you say 300,000, I don't know what numbers we're talking about, whatever revenue would come in with the sales tax, would that cover, a police officer and or 2 in order to cover any issues we have with that? So financially speaking, addressing the state bank, it's really a big issue. So, but as far as moral or not moral, I'm trying not to be moral. I'm simply saying we've had 2 votes that said no. Do we want to have another vote, advisory vote? So this council is in a leadership position. If we have new people on this council who say we're going to move forward, I believe, I don't know, maybe you remember, did we already regulate where these would be cited?
Nope.
Is it still, because we discussed where they would be cited?
We haven't done the zoning.
No,
We haven't
so-
done the zoning.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the mechanism currently that prohibits the shops from being in the city, is that they're not, it's a use that's not zoned. It's not a permitted use.
Okay.
So in order to allow the shops, we'd have to zone them.
Okay, thank you.
And-
Well, okay, so if the new council wants to move forward, we're at the end of the year, we're probably not going to discuss this right now. But if the new council wants to discuss the whole issue, they're perfectly welcome to do so at that. So we'll just argue it all out as we always do.
To
Thank you.
respond to your comments about the cash, I believe, and whether you love him or hate him, the dude who's currently in the White House most likely federally legalized this within the next 3 years, which will change the game for everything. The Indian associations are already getting together, the tribes are getting together for the banks, so I know what you're talking about on that one. And then when it comes to the cash-only crime aspect of it, I'd like to see statisticals on that one for the last 6 months compared to cannabis, regular restaurants, and coffee stands. I'd like to see what the numbers are on that. You might be right, I don't know, but I hear the argument, but I'd like to see statistical numbers on that one.
Mr. Wong?
Paul, hey, one thing I love about the council here is that we can have a discussion that we're going to disagree greatly, and we'll still walk away smiling at each other and shaking hands and being friends, and I appreciate that. I do think that the saying that we need to put it in a box now so that the next council doesn't do something more drastic, the next council can change that box. The next council can change that box. So I don't think that that's really a valid argument with that. They can change the box as quickly as we can create the box. As far as comparing it with alcohol, I think that's a valid comparison. I mean, alcohol causes a huge amount of problems. But if alcohol wasn't as widely used as it is right now, would you want to be promoting its expansion? I wouldn't. I think that alcohol is a huge problem. And with domestic violence and things, I think that very likely alcohol is a bigger contributor to it than what cannabis is. But that doesn't mean that the cannabis is good. And so just because something is something else is bad doesn't mean that it's good. And so that's where those are my positions, my belief on that. And by the way, I just took a look, Auburn with its, and I think you're right, 59,000, something like that. I
think that's the number I came up with.
And I've heard that too. I think that I heard it from Nancy, I believe. And they do have 4 pot shots. So anyway.
Lydia?
Yeah, thank you. And Paul, when you said the next council doesn't care, I think or what you said, people, yeah. So if I misrepresented or misquoted you, I apologize.
I think the
but-
terminology doesn't care as much might have been inappropriate, not the right
Okay.
terminology to use on it. I don't think they'll be as compassionate about keeping it out of, I don't know how to phrase it, other than I believe
Okay,
that
and, yeah,
the mindset
so-
has changed.
Okay, so I'm going to disagree on that, but, you know, if we're talking about zoning, if that's what we're talking about, I think that's a conversation to have. But in terms of banning cannabis in Federal Way, I think has always been something that we shouldn't have done, just because, like we all agreed, there are shops all over, right, you know, across the border, Federal Way. I mean, there's one 2 blocks from my house in northeast Tacoma. And it's well-regulated, and actually, you know, everything about them is safer than what young kids buy on the street, right? So, and that's why they're more expensive, and that's why they're, you know, the security and everything that follows these shops really is something that the young kids shouldn't even go in there. They're not allowed to because it's age restricted. So that argument also, I don't agree with, but I just want to make sure that I would have I supported, but it failed both times. And actually, the first time I didn't, I'll take that back, and because I also thought about it, you know, would I allow my kids to do it? And the answer is no. At the same time, I don't have control over what other kids do. I have control over my kids, though, in a way. But that said, it was revenue generating, and there are people who still need it in Federal Way. And so by legalizing it in Federal Way or allowing it to come to Federal Way, to me means that people who need it can have access to it. Because we're asking people to go somewhere else to purchase what they would, regardless, whether it's here or there, they're going to do it, especially medical marijuana. We shouldn't force them and make it inaccessible to them in our city when they need it for medical purposes. But again, my other argument about young people is if they're already doing it, they're doing it. Otherwise, they don't have access to these shops. Now, if we're talking about zoning, yeah, that's a good conversation to have. Let's zone it accordingly, and I support it being approved here in Federal Way. So that's my point.
Just to read what you're saying, when I said next council, I meant future councils. I don't mean like the next one. I mean like maybe it's 4-6 years down the road kind of thing. Yeah, it's more a blatant comment.
So that's it.
Oh, thank you. So Ryan, even if we were to say, yes, let's go forward, it is still months out before anyone could have a cannabis store because we haven't done the zoning. Is that correct?
So this would have to go through the normal zoning process, which includes the planning commission. It's a zoning exercise.
So we could start the zoning process knowing it's going to take months to get to a decision without saying, yes, we want cannabis stores.
If you want to waste staff's time, you could do that.
Well, I'm not thinking, I don't,
If the council's going to vote it down, it seems like a futile exercise to flush out the entire zoning exercise. It's not a small amount of work. So-
I don't imagine it's a small amount of work, but I imagine that it's the one control we have as a city. I mean, the state could come in and say, you're required to have cannabis stores,
They could-
and they could be anywhere that, they could be anywhere. And so I
That is
think
true.
in order to protect ourselves from where we might not want cannabis stores to be located, I think we need to do the zoning, and I don't think it's a waste of staff time, because I think eventually we will have cannabis stores here. And I think we need to get ahead of it before we're told by the state, you're going to have cannabis stores. We're not going to allow cities to say no to this. It is legal in the state of Washington, and I think we need to be ahead of it. I would also like to know the facts on how many times have the cannabis stores in Auburn been broken into? How many times has the stores in Des Moines been broken into, or Sumner, or around us? Because you hear about the stores in Seattle being broken into, and you hear about that fairly often, but are they, is that still happening, or has it ever happened elsewhere? And I would like to have some factual information instead of just saying that these stores are going to, they're, because they handle cash, that they're automatically going to be robbed, and it's going to cost our police more money than we have to use. So I would like the facts before we continue to say things that may not be true. I mean, look at West Seattle. They had that jewelry store robbed in broad daylight just, 2 months ago?
They caught one today, didn't they?
Huh?
They caught one of them today.
Oh, awesome.
I thought that was in Paris, the Louvre, not the.
Yeah, well, the Louvre,
Oh.
but no, in West Seattle, it was on the radio today, they were talking about the one they caught.
I mean, I know the jewelry stores that I've gone to in Federal Way, you have to be, they don't let you in the store if they don't, yeah. So those are protections that they've had to take, and they've taken those for a while that I understand. So we need facts instead of just making assumptions, is what I'm saying. Thank you.
Mr. Dovey?
Yeah, I have a fact question, and I don't know if anybody knows it. Paul, you said that there's 4 licenses in Federal Way. Did those people pay for those licenses? Do you know how much?
No.
I mean, who got the money?
They say 15 2-tap.
I mean, is that money somewhere down in the state?
Oh, the state.
The state
yeah,
has the money?
Apparently, I talked to them to find out because it's closed now. No one can get new licenses right now.
Okay.
And the one crux for me is that none of them live in the city of Federal, so that revenue actually sleeps a little bit out. One dude owns 3 of them, and then one person owns the other one. You have to be licensed with the state. If your city allows it, then they have to license with the city as a business, and then they can do retail sales, I guess.
Okay, so those 4 licenses, which, were not, I just was curious how much money they got sitting down at the state, and
They've been paying for them for years, too, because
Yeah.
they have to renew them. Even if it's not open, they have to renew it, or else they get administratively closed, I guess.
okay.
And the revenue sharing does not go to the license.
What, say the what?
Revenue sharing is not, the license fees are not part of that.
No, I get it,
actually
but
just
it's a gold rush to somebody if land use has changed and they have a license.
I think that there's some prospecting going on. The person
Yeah.
that's sitting on more than one, that's exactly they know
Right.
eventually it will become legal, and
And then-
they'll have very lucrative licenses.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
I do have a question for legal. So my understanding was, and you can correct me if wrong, because I talked to the guys from the cannabis operation down in Olympia. They mentioned that we have 4 licenses, but the city can restrict down how many licenses they allow. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, and I also believe that the revenue sharing algorithm, if you want to call it that, takes that into account, so you get less money if you restrict the number of licenses.
And it also restricts it, because I think Director Grooms sent over the restrictions, is if you also don't allow additional services outside of retail production and I don't know what the terminology is for those two, so I think that was actually one of the matrix parts of the two. The second one is my big concern is, some of the ones they have here is, the concentrate that they're allowed to sell. Is the city able to say that stores in our geographical location are only allowed to sell up to X percentage?
No, that's regulated by the state.
That's by the state? So state controls,
The state has very heavily regulated the production and quality of it, and has basically capped the potency. California marijuana is stronger than Washington marijuana, if you buy it legally. So they've capped the potency level.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up. First of all, I wanna thank Paul for his passionate and time in researching ways to bring in additional revenue to the city. I really, really appreciate that, no, truly. Based on what I'm hearing from everybody today, I believe majority of the council members here are not ready to take it to the next step. And as I stated from the very beginning, this item is for discussion only. There won't be any action taken today. It was a really, really good discussion. I hear from both sides, And I would just recommend that we are going to defer this item for future council members. However, whatever they want to do with this particular subject, it's up to them. But there won't be any action or decision came out of FedRAC today. Is that fair? Mr. Wash?
Yeah, I would just like to Paul, we don't have very many more meetings with you.
No, you don't.
You're talking about, wanting to put things in the box. One thing that I appreciate about you is you've taken our discussion outside of any boxes over the time that you've been here. And I think that that's been good for the council to step outside of our boxes and comfort zones and whatever else. So anyway, I want to thank you for that.
I appreciate it, and I didn't come with an agenda, but when I got on the council, I started making one, so. And I don't believe we should ever be put in boxes, so if I get put in a box, I will definitely find a way out.
Yeah.
And can I say something? I don't usually try to interject myself, but it is useful for staff to see you able to discuss this openly like this. Like, we don't get to see council debate things that aren't something we've already half-baked and then have to try to guess what you're going to want. So it is helpful for us to see kind of where people stand on the issue right now. So thank you.
Right.
Oh, I just want to, would one of you please remind Jim that we're going to have vanilla cake at the meeting on the 5th?
I'm okay with
He wants
passing-
vanilla, I
passing
already
on as
asked him.
needed.
No, half and half.
Half, oh, she wants a half and half. Can you try half and half?
I would prefer Sub-Zero ice cream.
Oh, there we go.
If it's not a conflict of interest, we could arrange that, but.
Okay, so with that, I'm going to remind you that our next meeting is going to be on November 25th at 5 p.m. in this room. And
25th?
Isn't that things close?
Thanksgiving? No, maybe I don't.
2 days before Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
So we are going to keep that meeting, correct? So that is going to be my very last meeting with this committee, because we won't have the meeting in December.
You're the chair, and this is up to you. Staff does not set your calendar. I think you've made us come to most meetings because you set the meeting.
Hey, that's right,
Wait, November, December?
November, Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Hey, I need to know what kind of cake you want. You're going to be December, so pick your cake.
Oh, cake? I can eat anything.
Chocolate.
Okay.
That balances it out then.
So probably the first meeting in December.
There you go.
So are we planning to have a November and a December FedRAC? Or November only, is that what you're saying?
November only, I think.
Yeah, we usually don't do December.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because,
Yeah, but we
Staff-
will have just cake in first Tuesday meeting in December.
we usually don't have meeting in
Thank you.
December.
As city attorney points out, it's nice to not let staff leave them wondering. Thank you.
Well, this I can do, right? Before I go. All right, well, again, thank you, council members, thank you, staff, and this meeting is adjourned.